Time for your weekly update on the river sport adventures and things happening along the Oklahoma River. From the Oklahoman's newsroom, I'm Dave Morris, joined by Mike Knopp, Executive Director of the Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Well, there was a story in the Oklahoman on Sunday. Our friend Chip Minty contributed the story, a lengthy article about the success, the growth, the numbers you're seeing along the Oklahoma River. It led off with the river cruises, but I'll tee it up to you. There were a lot of good things said about your neck of the woods.
Well, it's just great for the river all together and everything going on. But I mean, it is, Chip's story really rings true, and even what we saw this weekend. Throughout the summer, there's been obviously a lot of excitement associated with the opening of RIVERSPORTS Rapids, but the fact that the number of people coming down continues to build, and even this late in the summer, I think is really interesting and really representative of the momentum the Oklahoma River is seeing. And I think it all really goes together, like what Blair Humphreys and what the good work they're doing there at Wheeler District with the Ferris wheel and the trails are wonderful. The fact that you can ride all the way to Lake Overholser. So I think bottom line is we're getting more people outside, which is what we want, active, and when we give them these world-class amenities, outdoor adventure amenities, I think people are really starting to respond to it. And I've always talked about how can we make this part of our culture and our lifestyle, and I think it's really starting to happen.
You think that's part of the response? Chip Minty's article in the Oklahoman mentioned some benchmark numbers, such as sold out on the zip line, over 1,000 rafts one day.
I think so. I mean, when we look at even this year compared to last year, the fact that every day the zip line is sold out, I mean, is certainly representative of we've got a lot of interest in people coming down and experiencing all the adventure that we have. And the rafting, as I mentioned before, we've had to get enough raft guides to meet the demand, and we still aren't sure if we've been able to do that because there are days that we could have rafted more people, and we've had 1,000 people on the water. So I think that's great. Now the fact we kind of looking to transition into the fall, and some of our raft guides have gone back to school, and so we're coming up with ways in which we can continue to keep that capacity high throughout the fall season, considering what we're seeing out there.
Chatting with Mike Knopp, he's Executive Director of the Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation. Let's talk about that transition. You're starting to wind down the summer hours out there. What are we looking at hour-wise?
Well, we have another full week of operations as usual, as normal down there, and then as school gets back into session, we will reduce the hours that we're open during the week for the adventures. Now, you can come out any time and go rent a kayak or a bike, use the new pump track with a bike pass, but as far as rafting, that'll be going on actually in the evenings during the week, starting next week. And so there will still be a lot of availability during the week to go rafting after work or after school. And then people also can make a reservation for a group experience during the week if they want to bring their company out or a group of friends. There's still ways to do it during the week, but as far as our hours of our adventures, we're going to do just the rafting during the week, and then like the zip line and the sky trail and all of those things will occur more during the weekend.
Now, speaking of businesses, you guys had corporate rafting earlier this summer, and there was a handful of teams, 5 or 6 teams involved. Have you seen that grow for round 2?
It really has. It started off now, and we have about 15 teams in the corporate rafting league. So it's been a lot of growth. It's been great. People are having fun with it, and that goes along with our corporate rowing and our corporate dragon boat leagues, which are all kicking off because they culminate in the Oklahoma Regatta Festival, which is kind of what's really the next big event that we're aiming for, and that's the end of September, 1st of October, and that's where we race under the lights, and it's a big fall festival, and that's something that they have their championship during that. So everyone's got their mindset on getting ready for that event.
Chance for those of us in the corporate world to feel like real athletes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, coming off the Olympics, this is a lot of people are thinking about that. How can you have a little bit of that your own Olympic experience?
What if you're a parent and your son or daughter has been watching the athletes over in Rio competing in the Olympics, and they're fired up? The little kiddo's like, hey, I want to do that.
Yeah. Well, boy, we have a lot of opportunities for them, and we always see after an Olympic Games there is a bump in Olympic sports, not just what we do, but across the board, swimming and gymnastics. And the thing that we would say here in Oklahoma City is, gosh, kids have a world-class, one of the finest venues in the world, literally at their back door, right in their backyard, and incredible coaches. And so the pathway to an Olympic experience is much, much shorter if you live in Oklahoma City and you're interested in canoe, kayak, or rowing. There's a lot of hurdles that athletes have to overcome in other places that you just don't have to do here. And so we actually start this week with our fall programming where kids can get involved in canoe, kayak, or rowing, and there are different levels. You can either get in the competitive program, which is much more of a commitment, or the development league, which is just kind of getting your feet wet, so to speak, kind of get a feel for the sport, and then kind of easing into it and getting an experience, which is something we recommend for the younger kids. But we had many national champions a couple weeks ago come out of Oklahoma City who at the national championship we hosted. So we're seeing the pipeline that we like to call building here in Oklahoma City for future national teams and Olympic Games. And I tell you, it's a great time to get involved, especially with the excitement in watching the Olympics.
One last question from Mike Knopp, Executive Director, Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation. As we see the games in Rio start to wrap up this final week, are you guys already thinking ahead to Tokyo 4 years from now?
It's, believe it or not, we are. We've actually working with a coach and a program that will kind of come into place this fall at our National High Performance Center with the very focus on Tokyo. It's 4 years away, but we already have to start work on developing the new slate of athletes. And the first year out of the Olympics, a lot of times it's about figuring out, okay, what athletes from Rio, from the games are going to want to continue. Who's going to retire?
Who's going to retire?
And then who's out there in that pipeline? And then you have to get those kids or those athletes to want to stick with it, and then in some cases move to Oklahoma City and train here. And like I said, hopefully over time we're building our own pipeline of kids in Oklahoma City, athletes who will move on either from our youth programs to our collegiate programs that are here. But we need that program to actually start right away in September, where that development program begins. And then as we work closer to Tokyo, they'll hone in on those elite athletes who will actually make the team. So,
a lot of work, a lot of planning that goes into this.
A lot of planning that goes into it. Yeah, on the development side is really an important part. And if you watch the Olympics over the weekend, for example, we had an incredible performance in the women's 8.
Traditionally the powerhouse.
They're the powerhouse. They won the gold. Those athletes, because of the prominence of rowing in college now, we've become a powerhouse. And so many athletes throughout the sport of rowing and canoe kayak have come through Oklahoma City through our development program. Maybe they just got out of college and they came to kind of further develop before making their way onto the national team and then maybe training elsewhere. But that's really what we're seeing initially as we get into the next, we call it quadrennial, is this development program starting up again.
Cool stuff. It's interesting to watch it from the local perspective of kind of the pipeline and the process, and then see it explode globally. Back here, though, this weekend, what's coming up? Glow?
Yeah, we have Glow again this weekend. It's a great kind of last big activity to bring your family out before school starts. Now, some people are already in school, but this is it's a fun event. We're going to show pixels on the side of the finish line tower. We'll have live music and food trucks, and so that's Friday night, and it's a lot of fun.
Very good. That information can be found on their website at riversportokc.org. Mike, as always, congrats, and great to hear from you. Great to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.